Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards 2023. We're keeping the train rolling uh, with our next category, which is the best racing game of the year 2023. Let's go through some of these nominees before we start uh, our deliberations here. Trackmania launched this year. It's a pretty awesome speedrunning game if you've ever had a chance to check it out. EA Sports WRC was a game that released this year. It's got very fun rally style racing game. I wouldn't say it's sim necessarily. It's kind of arcadey. Uh, we mentioned this in the best Xbox Series X game category. Forza Motorsport is up for a nomination here. Excellent racing game. Another racing game that came out this year, a little more on the arcade side, a little more on like the kart racer side. Lego 2K Drive dropped earlier this year. Kind of going along with that, another kart racer in the Disney universe called Disney Speedstorm launches this year. And this little game that Nintendo shadow dropped during a Nintendo Direct in September against all odds. A 99 player battle royale game, an online game released by Nintendo that actually runs well. F-Zero 99. So those are the 6 games that have been nominated for the Best Racing Game of the Year award here at the Shacknews Awards for the year 2023.
But you predicted, Austin. You predicted many years ago that they were going to make that game. You gave them the idea. So where's your check from Nintendo?
I think that if you go back, and David, like, you've been on more Shackcasts with me than anyone. I've been talking about F-Zero 99, like the concept of this game, for years. Because
I was just gonna say you've mentioned it multiple times, like multiple episodes.
Like anyone, if you ever talk to me for a certain amount of time, like just cumulatively, I will bring up this idea because the claim for a very long time from the supervisor of F-Zero 99, he's credited as the supervisor, but as from the creator of the franchise, Shigeru Miyamoto, was that there's nothing new that we can do. I don't know what new we could do with F-Zero. That was always the argument. And I raised my hand and I said, I have an idea. How about an online game, a battle royale death race? Right? You take the F-Zero X death race and you apply it to this online sort of game. And like if you think back to Nintendo online games, one of the best experiences online right now is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, it's a very well made online game. It's missing some things like spectate, but it's like one example of Nintendo making an online game that wasn't a horrible experience. And this is kind of a trend this year that we're going to get into in other categories as well. Mario Wonder is an example of a new Nintendo game that has online play that is not horrible. And if you played Super Mario Maker 2 multiplayer, if you played Mario Maker multiplayer, if you played any of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, like there's clearly something going on at Nintendo where they're learning how to internet. Someone reset the router or something. But yeah, as someone who's been talking about this game ad nauseum for decades, it's kind of shocking to see them take components of F-Zero X and how the boost works in that game, how spin attacks work in that game, because that was the first game to introduce spin attacks, and apply them to this F-Zero SNES artwork. And I wouldn't even call it the same game. It's a brand new game. I think that was an argument that the F-Zero community was having the day that it was announced, because a lot of people wanted to say, this isn't new. And I'm like, this is brand new. This is a very different game. It has so much fan service in it, it's astonishing. The amount of, like, it's not that deep of a game, right? There's like two selections that you can make to play, right? There's the F-Zero 99 game, which is obviously built off of what they did with Pac-Man 99, Tetris 99. And then there's this other mode that changes every so often. You can do team races, there's pro tracks, there's mini prees, and there's grand prix. So there's like 5 different modes already. The game features the original 15 tracks from the original F-Zero SNES game. So you have the King Cup, the Queen Cup, and the Knight Cup. These are Grand Prix. These are 5 tracks each. And then the F-Zero 99 part of the game, it has like a rotation of maps or tracks that it uses. Players vote on which one they're going to race at the beginning of it. And the other thing I want to mention is the progression in the game is outstanding. I have not won this game yet. I have not won a single race. I love this game. I'm progressing. I have an A-class license because there's other stuff going on. Each race, you're given 4 rivals who are of a license grade similar to yours, right? I'm in A, so my rivals are either S minus, A plus, A minus, right? If you beat them and still lose the race, you do progress. So I think that that's like a mechanic that even if you're not the best in the universe at that game, you're still gonna feel rewarded by playing it. And then David, you'll remember this from the Shotcast. I hypothesized that when this game would eventually come out, that I would be too old to be good at it. And I think that we've kind of entered that territory. I'm not saying I'm the worst at it, but this is a very, very hard game. Like, it is not easy.
Some older players like you and me, Asif, we forget how hard that original F-Zero game was.
I don't. I mastered it when I was 12. And it's 30 years later. So I know that these hands, they're not the same. Like, they're not. My hand-eye coordination is
Silence and Firefield and all those other tracks.
Deathwind
like, oh
2,
my God, I forgot how hard these were.
Red Canyon 2, Deathwind 2, Port Town 2, Whiteland 2.
Deathwind with the freaking wind mechanics.
Deathwind with the wind mechanics, Firefield. These are some of the hardest racing tracks, not just in F-Zero history, in the history of video games. Like, these are very difficult tracks. So I love that they've created this Kumite for F-Zero fans. Like, it's unexpected because no one saw this coming, right? Like, no one was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be it. This is the year. And you can go search.
We're never gonna touch F-Zero again.
Yeah, they touched F-Zero back in Nintendo Land. They made a really terrible mini game out of it, and I hated them for it. But like, outside of that, F-Zero's been relegated to Smash trailers, like Captain Falcon's eating ramen with Kirby, which was delightful. But still, like, what the hell did that have to do with F-Zero? But I love that Min, Kirby, and Falcon are all in the same universe together in that one clip. But like,
Min, Kirby, and Falcon walk into a bar.
All these people who've attended EVO for all these years, they finally got to hear Big Blue in its native habitat. Like, the song for Big Blue is used at every single EVO. And I doubt many people realize where it's even from. So yeah, it's just been nice to see F-Zero actually be revived. This is a dead franchise. It's been 20 years since the last console release of an F-Zero game. That's just... Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
You're the person to speak on F-Zero, but there's something that should be put in this deliberation for the record for all of time is how ecstatic everyone around you was when this was announced, and we rushed to text messages, Slack messages, probably Discord messages, awesome! That was probably going to stand out as my coolest moment in games this year. Was just like how excited everyone was instantly for you to have this game show up. Like that, there's nothing that I'll do in gaming this year that is cooler than that minute, that moment.
Oh yeah, and like, just to give some context, like if you go look at my Cortex feed, it's just night and day. The previous post to the next day, things drastically changed for me. I was really confused when I saw the news, when I saw the trailer. I thought I might have been dead. I was like, there's no way. This is just my mind is like playing a trick on me. This is like, if you've seen Donnie Darko, you know how like you continue to live even though you're dead or whatever, like, spoiler alert from a movie from the 90s. But like, yeah, it's a very strange announcement. And I was taken back by it. But it is a triumphant moment for F-Zero fans. I love seeing F-Zero Twitter alive again. I love seeing people writing music You know, like doing covers of F-Zero songs again, all the fan art. F-Zero Twitter was a very active Twitter, but there weren't many of us. And like we're enlisting dozens and dozens of us now. I think my main fear was that there wouldn't be 99 people to even play the game, and that's just incorrect. It's in the, there's tens of thousands of people playing it every week, which you find out by playing it. You get those little rankings. There's a leaderboard. I will point out that I'm friends with a lot of you on Switch, and I don't see any of you on the leaderboard at all. But I mean, like literally just not showing up at all. But yeah, like it's outstanding. The amount of stuff they've added to this game, things that I would never think would happen. Like in-game cosmetics for a 16-bit game. Who was like, this is what we're gonna do? And it turns out being awesome. Like the different colors that you can be, the different skins that you can apply to your cars. It all goes back to the progression stuff that I was talking about. Like, you cannot win this game and still have a good time. And I don't know if that's going to be the case for everyone, but it is for me. And lastly, it helped me kick my Rocket League habit. I don't play Rocket League anymore. And I always said when I was playing Rocket League that I was just practicing for the next F-Zero game. I said the same when it came to Wreckfest. I was just practicing for the next F-Zero game. So here we are, but I'm too old to be the best in the universe anymore, and it sucks. Maybe. I might get there. The other problem going on is that, like, I main a vehicle that is not... It's not optimized for that game. It has the slowest acceleration. It just has issues, I think, in this current meta of the game. So, yeah, I've played it over 300 times, haven't won it once. I'm having a great time, and I think that's a sign of a good racing game. Good racing games need to be hard. They need to have replay value. They need to have awesome soundtracks. And this game has online play. For the first time ever in this series, there is online multiplayer. This game had multiplayer in the past, but it was split screen, right? So to actually be able to play with 98 other people in a race, it does kind of feel like a shit show at times, but it's a glorious shit show. And the replay value is through the roof. You're talking about, like, it's the definition of one more game for me. It's a game that I'll play for like 2 to 3 hours a day, but each race is 2 minutes long. So yeah, that's all I have to say about
F-Zero. Go to the
F-Zero
Grand Prix mode, and you can use your tickets to go into the Grand Prix mode, and depending on how well you do, you could last a while. It could be like a good 20 minutes.
I would say a Grand Prix probably will last you about 10 minutes, 15 tops.
5 for me, because I usually crash out.
Yeah. Well, it depends, right? Like the Queen Cup, I'm not going to make it past Deathwind 2 most of the time. So that's the second track. But yeah, I agree, Ozzy. Like it's the Grand Prix definitely offers a different kind of gameplay. It is cool because like first race in the Grand Prix, the top 80 advance. Second race, top 60 advance. Third race, top 40 advance. Fourth race, top 20 advance. And then it's just the fifth race is try to get first, right?
And the fifth race is always the hardest one. It's always something like
Silence.
It's always something like Silence or Firefield.
Or Whiteland 2, I think. But yeah, like they are the toughest of the tracks. That's just how F-Zero was built from the beginning. But I love how they took inspiration from every F-Zero game. The way that the Grand Prix tournaments work, the way that they score it, the rival mechanic, that's not new. The rival mechanic was in the GameCube version, GX, as well as F-Zero X for N64. So it's just this like, it's like they combined all my favorite things into this game. It's just that, you know, if I'm nitpicking a little bit, it's like, I wish that there was an ability for me to create a private game. Like we could all jump into an F-Zero 99 instance together. But that's something that they did with Tetris 99 and Pac-Man 99 down the road. So I don't think it's worth really considering it a negative, because it's a live service game. And they did say that after this most recent update where they added the King Cup or the King League, they did say that more modes were coming. Because while this is very cool, I'm not complaining, it's still a race. I think a traditional death race should be infinite, and it should be last man standing or last vehicle standing wins. So we don't have that yet. I don't think that because we don't have it yet means that we won't get it. And I remember, David, we were talking about really early on, what if they bring F-Zero X to this? like, where does this go? Like, are we gonna get other tracks from other games in the series? Because that would open up a whole new world. Uh, but yeah, right now you have 15 tracks, a lot of replayability, amazing online play. I have to stress that because we're talking about a Nintendo game with good online play. And I know that like we shouldn't be like astonished at video game companies that can make online games, but Nintendo has a track record of making terrible online games. And I think that they're tired of that narrative and they're actually doing something about it. Also, the
Or they're
people who
really good
made
at
this
online games and racing games.
they are. And the people who made this game, it really looks like it was a skunk works inside of Treehouse in Redmond, Washington. The game directors from North America, it seems like this was the same conversation that we were having on the Shackcast. Like they answered it. Or they listened to the Shackcast and they said, hey, this guy Asif was right. If anything, I'm putting that conversation with Tim Willits Tim Sweeney that I had. Did Tim Willits invent racing games? No, Tim Sweeney. Tim Sweeney and I were talking about Fortnite copying PUBG at the time. And Tim said, you know, the games industry is built on companies taking other people's ideas and iterating on them. And F-Zero 99 is a perfect example of that. Nintendo really has not, outside of Tetris 99, Pac-Man 99, they haven't really built a battle royale game with their own IP. And this is it. And I think it's amazing that they chose this game.
They tried with Mario 35, but that was only with 35.
And that game is delightful.
Much bigger. It's a much grander scale.
And that's why we should give this game an award, because Mario 35 no longer exists. So we need to celebrate this game while it still exists, damn it. But yeah, that's my F-Zero 99 rant. I'm sticking to it. Ozzy, tell me about Disney Speedstorm.
Disney Speedstorm is Disney's attempt at a Mario Kart clone, and you know what? It's not a bad one. The tracks are fun. The power-ups are all right. It's free to play. That because it's free to play, that means the progression's a little iffy, but I love the selection of tracks, the selection of racers, and you know what? It's a good time. Just pop it in for a few minutes, and you're having a good racing session. It's really straightforward.
And you can be Aladdin riding on a magic carpet.
Aladdin came in a later update, yes. So I believe yes, you can be Aladdin.
Pretty neat.
They have music
I think
in it
the
too,
IP,
which is cool.
The IP lends itself perfectly to this, and Disney is like, they're kind of figuring out how to make video games again after what happened with Infinite, or was it Infinity?
Disney Infinity, yeah.
Yeah.
Disney Infinity wasn't a bad game. It's just that they blew too much on it. They didn't budget it well.
Yeah,
it was also a time where like the Toys to Life kind of fell off a cliff in general.
Yep.
A demand for those. So yeah, they weren't really ready for that. But what Disney has done with their IP lately, or trusting other developers, letting them do some stuff, because isn't this Gameloft?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So like Disney's like, okay, we're not going to make games in house anymore, but they are licensing their IP. You know, in the case of Star Wars, to multiple companies, but also taking the Disney franchises lend themselves perfectly to a kart racer. So this made sense. And in any other year, yeah, it would be a fine nomination if F-Zero 99 wasn't in the mix. Ozzy, you reviewed Lego 2K Drive, right?
I sure did. Lego 2K Drive is a delightful little open world game where you're basically driving around a giant Lego world, getting into races, getting into meeting rivals. You change your Lego vehicles on the fly, depending on whether you're on land or sea. I definitely love that aspect of it. You can build your own Lego craft. I'm a terrible Lego builder in the virtual and real world, so I don't use that aspect of the game so much, but the option is there, and you can upgrade your vehicles as you go. So I liked Lego 2K Drive for what it was.
It kind of like it uses that mechanic that the Crew did, where you like can you talk about like changing from like an aerial vehicle to like a hovercraft or whatever. Like
right.
Yeah, I think that they do it pretty seamlessly in 2K Drive. But yeah, it's pretty fun to watch. I still think that like out of all the racing games I've ever had that transform mechanic, the Sonic Racing transformed game for Wii U was like outstanding for that.
People love that game. Yeah.
I also love the little different mechanic that when you're racing, you get speed boosts by like kind of like kind of like hitting objects, and the more objects you hit, the kind of more of a speed boost you get. I did like that little tweak to it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's solid nomination in a year where F-Zero 99 wasn't released, but it's solid. Like people should try it, especially like
It's a good
if
family
you have
game.
young kids. Yeah, it's a very good family game. It's well made. It seems like they're going to keep supporting it. And Lego games are
They
just
have a
fun.
season pass model though, and that's
Oh.
a knock against it.
You know what doesn't have a season pass model? F-Zero 99. Just throwing it out there.
F-Zero 99 is also free to play with your Nintendo Online membership.
I don't like to call it free to play because it isn't. You have to pay for Switch Online, but it's free with Switch Online. So it's just like Switch Online becomes a more valuable service each game that they dribble out. The expansion pack, I think, becomes more valuable as DLCs drop for different games. Because like I think if you had the expansion pack at this point, you could have had Splatoon DLC and Animal Crossing DLC and Mario Kart DLC.
Expansions.
So once you start adding up the numbers, it does feel like the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack is worth it if you're like a really big Nintendo person. If not, there's obvious you can do the math. But I think that Switch Online, every year it's been alive, it's gotten better.
They're learning.
It's not perfect, but it's definitely getting better. And F-Zero 99,
Virtual console.
I know, and that's why Wii U will always be the GOAT.
Mm.
But yeah, it feels very similar to when, like at the end of the Wii U, like I think it was like a week or maybe 3 weeks before Switch launched, F-Zero X hit the Virtual Console, and now it's like Switch is definitely at the end of its life, and they're like, hey, let's give them an F-Zero 99. So I hope that some of these 99 games live on from the Switch to the next generation in Nintendo hardware, because I think Tetris 99 is a wonderful game, and I think it would be a tragedy to see F-Zero 99 taken away from the fans. But on to the next nomination. We talked about this in several other categories. Forza Motorsport, very good racing game. Very good.
Tune into our best Xbox Series X argument for more on that.
Yeah, solid game. We've talked about it in other places. Moving on. EA Sports WRC. I believe this is another game that Jan reviewed for us. He's kind of our racing game expert. It's very good.
He was kind of he was like, he started off, he was a little hesitant with that. He felt like he's not a WRC person, like in terms of like his racing interests. So
yeah,
it was a bit of a feeling out process for him. But by the end of it, the thing that he was the highest on were the callouts. Like the callouts in WRC are extremely unique, and if you don't know the lingo, it makes no sense. But he started investing in like learning the actual lingo for these races, and at that point, like it will basically tell you like, hey, right over this hill, you're gonna have a sharp left turn kind of thing, and it totally changed the experience for him. And other high points were again like all of his sim racing gear was working correctly. He felt like hardcore WRC racers wouldn't love it as much because it catered more to a casual audience to try to like grow the sport, but he thought that in that respect it did really well. So
yeah, I think Rally in general feels more arcadey, even if it can be sim-like. Just the nature of jumping and driving through dirt and mud. But I think these games tend to shine when their physics are really solid and tight, and it seems like they got that right, at least in this game.
yeah, he also thinks that people who stand on the sidelines of these races are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
'Cause he's like, it's so easy to just go flying off the road. Like you should not be anywhere near that. So
Not to mention, like, it's easy to get covered in mud, even if you don't
Yeah.
get run over. Like,
that's best case scenario. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I got covered in mud, it's like, well, you're back. Good,
at least you made it. A fine nomination in any other year where F-Zero 99 wasn't announced. Trackmania is our last nominee for this. This game's cool. It's a fun, cool game that I think a lot of, I don't know if it's mod support or if it's just user-generated levels or what, but there's just a lot of things to do in Trackmania. It's always fun to watch during games done quick, depending on what iteration you're talking about. But yeah, Trackmania deserves a nomination. I don't know if anyone here's played it this year, but it's pretty solid. I think we're ready to vote, right?
Think so.
We
I'm
sure
happy
are.
that Mario Kart 9 didn't come out this year because it'd be just a blood battle between Mario Kart 9 and F-Zero 99.
Mario Kart 9 doesn't exist.
It's a myth.
There's never going to be a Mario Kart 9. We are only going to have Mario Kart 8 for the rest of time. I honestly, where do you go from here, man? Like, you look at the booster course pack. Like, it's every kart track you ever wanted in one game, right? Isn't that what we have now with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
And new ones. They even made some new ones.
Yeah, like brand new tracks or tracks from Mario Kart Tour are even in there. I don't think we're gonna get a Mario Kart 9.
Mhm.
You want to know what I think we're gonna get? And this is obviously a tangent. Mario Kart Wonder.
8 DX Plus.
Mario Kart Wonder is what we're gonna get. I think we're going to the Flower Kingdom in Mario Kart because
I
the
hope so.
Wonder
That would be
Flower.
so fun.
Yeah, think about a Wonder Flower mechanic in a racing game. That's different. What do you do with Mario Kart 9? Like, what are you gonna do? How on earth do you do better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? I really think F-Zero 99's existence, Greg, is a sign that Nintendo may finally have realized we have a good racing engine. Maybe we should do other games with it. Just saying. Maybe there's hope for, like, now F-Zero fans have had like this little bit of hope. Maybe Diddy Kong Racing fans are gonna get something. Maybe Wave Race is coming back, right?
Oh,
Maybe
Diddy Kong
1080
Racing.
snowboarding. Like, maybe 1080 snowboarding's gonna be a thing. There's just a lot of racing games in Nintendo's backlog already, like IP that they already have that they could revive. And like, it's undeniable. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, what, best-selling racing game of all time? Or it's up there at least.
Next
I
Switch
just-
will
yeah.
launch with Pilot Wings.
Super Pilot Wings. But yeah, that's another discussion for another day, Greg. How dare you even bring up Mario Kart in this discussion? I should just-
Gavel.
You know what? You're getting
Gavel.
You're getting gavelled for that.
Yes.
Out of
Overruled.
order.
You're out of order and you're overruled. Thank God Mario Kart 9 didn't come out. And thank God this isn't Mario Kart 99. Mario Kart 99 would be some sort of living hell.
That's
Because
punishment.
imagine like 90 blue shells coming at you at once. Like, there is rubber banding in F-Zero 99 from the Super Sparks and the Skyway and stuff, but it's not as bad as a Mario Kart game would be.
You would have
And-
2 people in front, then like the rest 98 people, just 70, 97 people just in the back, not moving, getting hit by everything.
But yeah, I think why I've always loved the F-Zero series over most other racing games is that it's about skill. It's about, and I know F-Zero 99 has an element of luck to it, because every battle royale has an element of luck to it. But if you know if you know the tracks, you're gonna place well. Like, I'm consistently in the top 25 now, or top 10, depending on what level. Like, there's certain tracks that I just still know very well. Meat City 3. I know, obviously, Greg, you won on Meat City because you're basic. But, yeah, there's tracks out there that everyone knows, but there's definitely some tracks in the mix in F-Zero 99 that only the hardcore fans remember. But at the same time, if you've never played the game, you can just jump into practice and race yourself, and it creates a ghost for yourself to race. So I just think there's a couple things that are missing from F-Zero 99 right now at this current moment that may not be missing a year from now. Bots are one. I think it would be cool to be able to just practice against bots, right? And then the ability to create a private party so that you and your friends can all match together. I understand why we're not able to match together in F-Zero 99, because you could like intentionally lose, or there's ways to kind of collude. But I think that it should be an option, at least, to race against your friends with bots or something, because that's what Tetris 99 did ultimately, and I think that they could do something similar to that. But I'm not sure if Switch can handle 98 AI cars on the screen at the same time. That's the other question. But yeah, I think we're ready to vote, right? I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah.
I'm voting for F-Zero 99, so I'm going to get mine out of the way. Greg, what you got?
F-Zero 99.
Okay, TJ, what you got?
F-Zero 99.
Ozzy?
F-Zero 99.
Sweep.
Ozzy actually plays it.
Sweep.
I've seen him. Bill?
He doesn't play it well, but he plays it.
I've seen you on my leaderboard is all I'm saying.
F-Zero 99.
Sam?
F-Zero 99.
Danny?
F-Zero 99.
David?
F-Zero.
Donovan?
You know, I think I'll go with
Don't you do it,
F-Zero
Donovan.
99.
Sweep.
And
Sweep.
I know
want everyone to
Steve.
sweep.
I know Steve very well. Steve would pick F-Zero 99 here.
Big Nintendo guy.
That is a clean sweep. That's the first one of our deliberations, right?
Mhm.
So congratulations to Nintendo. Shout out to the developers of F-Zero 99 for taking that risk and probably having to make a very scary PowerPoint presentation to Miyamoto at some point to even get it greenlit. But I really think if F-Zero 99 can happen, fans of any random franchise, whatever you love out there, never give up hope that they will make a new one, because F-Zero 99 exists. So if you're an Ice Climbers fan, or a Kid Icarus fan, or Adventures of Lolo, or any other random game, Beautiful Joe, there's hope for you. Someday, you may also get a completely random announcement during a Nintendo Direct that blindsides you. And that's what F-Zero 99 was, and it is our best racing game of the year, 2023 here at Shacknews. Congratulations, Nintendo. I can't wait for you to throw our award in the trash when we give it to you.
What am I gonna do with the award? Nothing. I don't know what I'm gonna do.